In this example, we're going to determine the equation of a periodic function given certain information about the function. We're told that we have a point on the axis of symmetry and we know the next minimum point. So graphing that, we see this is what we've got. We have negative 5, 8 on the axis of symmetry, and that the next minimum point is at 4, negative 1. So our curve looks like this. Our job is going to be to draw the rest of the cycle and then determine what are the coordinates of the other points. So, if we want, we can draw one more cycle up and draw a part of the cycle up from here and then also draw part of the cycle back. And in this way, we would get our 5 key points and we could call it a positive sine curve. And if we do that, we'll get the right answer. Or if we prefer, we can draw the next part of our cycle up and then the next part of our cycle up as well. We can draw part of the cycle back, and from that way, we'll get 5 key points and we'll be able to call our parent function positive cos. Or if we prefer, we can just draw next part backwards and then our next part backwards and our next part. And using symmetry, we can use negative cos as our parent function, and we can have our 5 key points as shown and determine the equation. The process that we're going to take, and it's fine if you do any of those, I'll take a process where I just sort of move forward and move forward again and move forward again. And I'll call the parent function negative sine x. So you kind of need a understanding of what the parent functions look like. This is a positive sine x curve. Now, in this case, the distance from the first key point to the second key point horizontally, we're going from negative 5 to 4. Well, that's 9 units. So that means to go from the second key point to the third key point will also be 9 units. So we're going to add 9 to 4, and we're going to get 13. And then the y value of our axis of symmetry is 8. And we know that's the axis of symmetry because it says so in the question. So that means our third key point of our negative sine curve will have the same y value. Now, we can tell that the amplitude of this curve is 9 because the amplitude is equal to the vertical distance from the axis of symmetry down to the minimum or up to the maximum if we wish. So to go from an axis of symmetry y value of 8 to an axis of symmetry y value of negative 1, we had to go down 9 units. And then we had to come up 9 units to get to the next key point. So that means we're going to go up 9 more units on the vertically. So, and we're also going to go up 9 units horizontally. That's just a little bit of a coincidence. It won't always work out that our x and y are both going up by the same amount. But since we're moving 9 units horizontally, we see that our next x value will be 22. And since we're moving up 9 units vertically, we'll see that our next y value is 17. And finally, to get our fifth key point, we'll add another 9 units horizontally. We'll get to 31. And we'll drop down another 9 units to get to 8. And so now what we have are the coordinates of 5 key points. And so it's going to be easy for us to determine the equation of this curve. So the parent function is going to be y equals negative sine x. As discussed earlier, we have other parent functions we could use, but we'll use this one for now. We see that our phase shift is going to be negative 5, and we're using negative 5 because that's the x value of the first point of the cycle. Our period, to get from an x value of negative 5 to an x value of 31 is 36 units. So our period is 36. So that means our k value will be 2 pi over 36, which is also pi over 18. Alternatively, instead of saying k is pi over 18, we might choose to use degrees and say that k is equal to 360 degrees over 36. and say that K is equal to 10 degrees. Now, a lot of times in word problem questions, we will say K is equal to 10 degrees, and we'll drop the units in the course of the question because it'll end up working out at the end. So we might also say that K is equal to 10, and we're going to hold on to that in the back of our mind. We'll say that K is equal to pi over 18, or we'll say that K is equal to 10. Depending on if we're using radians or degrees. And this question was not specific. Our C value in this question, the Y value of the axis of symmetry by observation, is 8. If we like to use, if for some reason we want to use a formula for that, we can say that it's the maximum Y value plus the minimum Y value divided by 2. 16 over 2 is 8. And our amplitude in this question is 9. And if we want a formula, we can say it's the maximum Y value minus the minimum Y value all over 2, which would equal 9. And so now, since the amplitude is 9, but the parent function is negative sine x, we're going to say that A is equal to negative 9. So now we're going to take all of this information and we're going to plug it in and come up with the equation y is equal to negative 9 sine pi over 18 x minus negative 5 plus the C value, which is 8. But if we want to put it in degrees, which is sometimes convenient to do in certain word problem questions, if we want to put it in degrees, instead of using pi over 18, we'll use this value of 10, and we'll say negative 9 sine 10 x plus 5 quantity plus 8. And either of those answers would be acceptable unless the question specifically asks for it in terms of degrees, in terms of radians, in which case you would use the first formula, or if it asks for it specifically in terms of degrees, then you would put it in terms of the second formula.